The morning mist clung to the ancient stones of Windsor Castle like a whispered secret, carrying with it the weight of centuries and the promise of something extraordinary. Sarah Chun, a young photographer for the Royal Observer, adjusted her camera lens for what she assumed would be another routine assignment covering Prince William and Catherine's scheduled visit to the local children's hospital. The couple had been making regular appearances throughout the week, their commitment to public service unwavering despite the mounting pressures surrounding the royal family. As Sarah positioned herself among the small crowd of media personnel gathered near the castle gates, she noticed an unusual energy in the air. The security detail seemed more alert than usual, their practiced eyes scanning the perimeter with heightened attention. Palace staff moved with a purposeful urgency that suggested something beyond the scheduled itinerary was unfolding. Catherine emerged first from the Range Rover, her navy blue coat catching the early sunlight as she paused to speak with a young girl who had been waiting with her mother since dawn. The Duchess of Cambridge had always possessed a natural ability to connect with people, and today was no exception. Her genuine smile and attentive manner as she knelt to the child's eye level demonstrated the grace that had endeared her to the British public over the years. William followed, his tall frame commanding attention as he surveyed the gathered crowd with the measured confidence of someone born to public life. Yet there was something different about his demeanor today, a subtle tension in his shoulders that suggested he was anticipating more than the planned hospital visit. He exchanged a meaningful glance with his protection officer, a silent communication that spoke of preparations for an unexpected development. The couple made their way toward the hospital entrance, stopping frequently to greet well-wishers and accept flowers from children. Catherine accepted a handmade drawing from an 8-year-old boy named Tommy, whose mother explained he had been working on it for weeks after learning of the royal visit. The simple gesture of the Duchess, carefully folding the artwork and promising to treasure it, exemplified the human connections that made these public appearances meaningful beyond mere protocol. Inside the hospital, William and Catherine moved through the pediatric ward with practiced ease, their presence bringing smiles to young faces and comfort to worried families. Dr. Margaret Foster, the head of pediatrics, had worked with the royal couple on numerous occasions and marveled at their ability to bring genuine joy to difficult situations. Today, she noticed they seemed particularly engaged, as if drawing energy from these interactions in preparation for something significant. In the cancer treatment unit, they spent extended time with 15-year-old Emma Rodriguez, who had been battling leukemia for 2 years. Emma's bright spirit and determination had caught Catherine's attention during a previous visit, and the Duchess had made a point of staying in touch with the family through personal letters. Today, Emma surprised everyone by presenting Catherine with a friendship bracelet she had woven during her treatment sessions, the royal blue and silver threads representing hope and resilience. As the hospital visit concluded, William received a discreet message on his phone that caused his expression to shift almost imperceptibly. Catherine noticed immediately the subtle communication between married couples apparent even in the most public settings. They had been together long enough for such wordless exchanges to convey volumes of information. The return journey to Windsor Castle took on a different atmosphere. Where the morning had been filled with the routine energy of a scheduled engagement, the afternoon carried an undercurrent of anticipation. Palace staff, who had seemed merely efficient earlier, now moved with the precision of those preparing for a significant event. Margaret Holloway, the Queen's former private secretary who had remained as a consultant, observed the proceedings from her office window overlooking the castle grounds. Having served the royal family for over 3 decades, she possessed an instinctive understanding of when something extraordinary was about to unfold. The increased security presence, the subtle changes in protocol, and the carefully managed media positioning all suggested that the day's events were far from over. As afternoon melted into early evening, the castle took on an almost expectant quality. The ancient walls had witnessed countless moments of historical significance, from state visits to family reconciliations, and today carried that familiar weight of impending importance. Staff members who had been briefed on security protocols found themselves checking and rechecking arrangements, their professionalism masking an underlying awareness that they were about to be part of something memorable. William and Catherine retreated to their private apartments within the castle, the brief respite allowing them to prepare mentally for what lay ahead. The decisions that had led to this moment had been months in the making, involving delicate negotiations, careful timing, and the kind of diplomatic finesse that only years of royal training could provide. Tonight would test their ability to balance personal relationships with public responsibility. In California, another set of preparations was reaching completion. The private jet that would carry its precious cargo across the Atlantic had undergone thorough security checks, its flight plan filed under the highest levels of confidentiality. The journey ahead represented more than mere transportation. It symbolized a bridge across months of silence and the hope for renewed understanding. As darkness began to settle over Windsor, the stage was set for a reunion that no one outside a very small circle anticipated. The careful orchestration required for such an event to remain secret until the crucial moment demonstrated the extraordinary lengths to which the royal family would go to protect both their privacy and their relationships. Tomorrow's headlines would tell a different story than anyone expected, but tonight belonged to the quiet preparation for something that could change everything. The private terminal at Heathrow Airport buzzed with discreet activity as the midnight hour approached. Unlike the bustling public areas filled with travelers and tourists, this exclusive section operated under a different set of rules, where privacy was paramount and anonymity was an art form. The sleek aircraft that touched down on the runway carried passengers whose arrival had been coordinated with the precision of a military operation. Detective Inspector James Morrison, head of Royal Protection Services, had overseen countless high-security arrivals during his 20-year career, but tonight required a level of discretion that challenged even his extensive experience. The advance team had worked for weeks to ensure that every detail was accounted for, from alternative routes to backup contingency plans. Nothing could be left to chance when the stakes involved both personal relationships and public perception. Inside the aircraft, Harry adjusted his jacket and glanced at Meghan, who was carefully checking their documents one final time. The decision to make this journey had not been taken lightly. Months of private conversations, mediated through trusted intermediaries, had led to this moment. The careful coordination required to synchronize schedules, manage security concerns, and maintain absolute secrecy had tested everyone involved. Meghan looked out the small window at the familiar lights of London, a city that held such complex memories for her. The excitement of their engagement announcement, the joy of their wedding day, the challenges that followed, and ultimately the difficult decision to step away from royal duties. All of it had happened here. Tonight represented a chance to write a new chapter, one hopefully filled with understanding rather than division. Their young children, Archie and Lilibet, had remained in California under the care of trusted family friends. The decision to travel alone had been practical rather than symbolic. This initial meeting needed to focus on adult conversations and healing relationships without the additional complexities that young children might bring to an already delicate situation. The convoy of vehicles that transported them from Heathrow to Windsor moved through the quiet London streets with practiced efficiency. The route had been chosen to avoid main thoroughfares and potential media attention, winding through residential areas where the late hour ensured minimal traffic. Harry found himself recognizing familiar landmarks despite the darkness, childhood memories surfacing as they passed locations that had shaped his early years. At Windsor Castle, William paced the length of the blue drawing room, his mind occupied with the weight of what this evening might accomplish. The room had been chosen carefully, informal enough to encourage open conversation, yet grand enough to remind everyone of the institutions they were trying to preserve and protect. Catherine sat quietly in one of the antique chairs, her calm presence a steadying influence on her husband's nervous energy. The months leading to this moment had been filled with careful diplomacy conducted through trusted intermediaries. Palace staff who had served the family for decades had worked behind the scenes to facilitate communication, carrying messages and negotiating details with the discretion that only comes from years of experience managing sensitive royal matters. Tonight represented the culmination of those efforts. Margaret Holloway had been instrumental in arranging the logistics, her decades of experience proving invaluable in navigating the complex protocol requirements while maintaining complete secrecy. She understood better than most that successful reconciliation required more than good intentions. It demanded careful planning, proper setting, and the removal of external pressures that could derail even the most sincere efforts at communication. As the convoy approached the castle gates, security personnel implemented the final phase of their carefully rehearsed protocol. The media blackout that had been maintained throughout the day would continue, ensuring that this private family meeting could occur without the pressure of immediate public scrutiny. The world would learn of this reunion when the family chose to share it, not before. The moment Harry and Meghan stepped out of their vehicle within the castle courtyard, years of separation seemed to compress into a single heartbeat. The familiar stones beneath their feet, the scent of the English countryside, and the imposing silhouette of the castle against the night sky all served as reminders of the life they had once known here. William appeared in the doorway, his formal posture gradually relaxing as he saw his brother for the first time in months. The initial awkwardness that might have been expected was tempered by years of shared experiences and the underlying love that had never truly disappeared despite the public disagreements and private disappointments that had created distance between them. Catherine's entrance into the courtyard brought a different dynamic to the reunion. Her relationship with Meghan had been subject to intense media speculation, but tonight offered an opportunity to move beyond tabloid narratives and focus on genuine human connection. The embrace between the two women, hesitant at first but growing more natural, symbolized the possibility that family bonds could transcend public controversies. The decision to meet in the Oak Room, rather than a more formal setting, reflected William's desire to create an atmosphere conducive to honest conversation. The room's warm wood paneling and comfortable seating arrangements encouraged the kind of relaxed interaction that might allow old wounds to heal and new understanding to develop. Palace staff retreated to a respectful distance, their years of training allowing them to provide necessary security and service while remaining practically invisible. The family needed space to rediscover their connections without the constant awareness of being observed and analyzed. As they settled into the comfortable chairs arranged around the fireplace, and fire crackling softly in the hearth, the four adults who had once worked together so closely began the delicate process of rebuilding trust. The conversation started with safe topics, inquiries about health, updates about the children, shared memories of happier times. Harry found himself studying his brother's face, noting the subtle changes that the passing months and increased responsibilities had brought. William's role as heir to the throne had always carried enormous pressure, but recent events had added layers of complexity that were visible in the slight lines around his eyes and the careful way he chose his words. Meghan observed Catherine with similar attention, remembering the genuine friendship they had once shared and wondering whether it might be possible to reclaim some of that connection. The Duchess of Cambridge had always impressed her with her grace under pressure and her commitment to her royal duties, qualities that had become even more apparent as family tensions had escalated. The evening progressed with careful steps toward understanding. Years of hurt feelings and misunderstood intentions could not be resolved in a single conversation, but the willingness to be present in the same room represented significant progress. Each participant brought their own perspective to the discussion, their own understanding of events that had shaped their relationships. Outside, Windsor Castle maintained its eternal watch over the Thames Valley, its ancient walls holding the secrets of countless royal gatherings throughout centuries of British history. Tonight, those walls witnessed another chapter in the ongoing story of family, duty, and the complex relationships that define the modern monarchy. Dawn broke over Windsor Castle with a gentle golden light that seemed to promise new beginnings. The four family members who had talked through most of the night found themselves in the private garden that Catherine had carefully cultivated over the years, a sanctuary where the pressures of public life could momentarily fade away. The morning air carried the scent of roses and lavender, creating an atmosphere far removed from the formal constraints that usually governed royal interactions. Harry walked along the familiar pathways, his hands clasped behind his back in a gesture that reminded everyone present of their father. The hours of conversation had begun to bridge the emotional distance that had grown between the brothers, though both understood that healing would require time and continued effort. The garden provided a neutral space where childhood memories could resurface naturally, away from the weight of constitutional responsibilities and public expectations. Meghan sat on the stone bench near Catherine's herb garden, watching her sister-in-law tend to the plants with the same careful attention she brought to all her responsibilities. The simple act of sharing morning tea in this peaceful setting allowed both women to remember why they had initially connected so well. Their different backgrounds and experiences, once seen as potential sources of conflict, now seemed like opportunities for mutual learning and support. William emerged from the castle carrying a tray with fresh coffee and pastries prepared by the kitchen staff, a gesture that would have been unthinkable in formal circumstances, but felt perfectly natural in this private family setting. The future king serving breakfast to his relatives symbolized the desire to set aside protocol in favor of genuine human connection. The conversation that resumed over their informal meal addressed practical matters that had been impossible to discuss through intermediaries. Questions about future family gatherings, the children's relationships with their cousins, and potential collaborative charitable projects began to reshape their understanding of what their relationships might become. Each topic required careful navigation, but the willingness to engage with difficult subjects demonstrated their commitment to moving forward. Catherine shared her experiences of adjusting to royal life, offering insights that she hoped might help Meghan understand some of the challenges that had contributed to past difficulties. Her perspective as someone who had also married into the family provided a bridge between different viewpoints and experiences. The Duchess spoke honestly about the isolation that could accompany royal duties and the importance of finding purpose within the constraints of public service. As the morning progressed, staff members began preparing for an unprecedented public appearance that would announce the reunion to the world. The decision to make a joint statement had been reached during the early hours of their conversations, representing a mutual desire to control the narrative rather than allowing speculation to fill the void of official communication. Palace Communications Director Miranda Walsh worked with unusual urgency to coordinate media arrangements while maintaining the secrecy that had protected the family meeting. Her team faced the challenge of organizing a significant royal announcement with only hours of notice, a task that required calling in favors and implementing contingency plans that had been developed for exactly such circumstances. The choice of location for their public appearance reflected careful consideration of symbolic meaning. Windsor Castle's long walk, stretching toward the town and connecting the royal residence with the community beyond, represented the bridge between private family matters and public responsibility. The historic avenue had witnessed countless royal occasions, from ceremonial processions to informal family gatherings. Harry and Meghan used the morning hours to reconnect with staff members they had known during their time as working royals. These relationships had been casualties of their departure, and reestablishing these connections required acknowledgement of hurt feelings and genuine expressions of regret for the way circumstances had unfolded. The personal cost of their decisions had extended far beyond their immediate family. Margaret Holloway coordinated the complex logistics of preparing for an unscheduled royal appearance while maintaining normal castle operations. Her experience managing royal protocol under unusual circumstances proved invaluable as she balanced the needs of family privacy with the demands of public interest. Every detail, from security arrangements to media positioning, required careful attention. The decision to include local community members in their announcement reflected the family's understanding that their relationships affected more than just themselves. Representatives from Windsor community organizations, children from local schools, and longtime supporters of royal charities were quietly invited to join the gathering, their presence adding authenticity to what could have become a sterile media event. As afternoon approached, the four family members prepared separately for their joint appearance, each understanding the significance of the moment for their personal relationships and public roles. The clothes they chose, the positioning they would take, and even their expressions would be analyzed for meaning, but their primary focus remained on presenting a united front that reflected their genuine desire for reconciliation. Catherine selected a dress in royal blue that had special meaning for the family, while Meghan chose an elegant coat in a complementary shade that demonstrated their coordination without appearing overly rehearsed. The subtle color harmony would not be lost on royal watchers who understood the symbolic importance of such details. William and Harry reviewed the brief statement they would make, working together to craft words that acknowledged past difficulties while emphasizing their commitment to moving forward. The challenge lay in being honest about their experiences while avoiding language that might reignite controversies or hurt family members who were not present. Security preparations intensified as the afternoon announcement time approached. Detective Inspector Morrison coordinated with local police to manage what would likely become significant media attention once news of the reunion broke. The safety of all participants remained paramount, but the team also worked to ensure that the positive nature of the announcement would not be overshadowed by security concerns. The Children's Hospital where William and Catherine had made their morning visit received an unexpected follow-up call, inviting young patients and their families to join the afternoon gathering. The inclusion of the children they had met earlier in the day added continuity to the story and emphasized the family's shared commitment to charitable work. Dr. Margaret Foster arranged for several of her young patients to attend, including Emma Rodriguez, whose friendship bracelet still adorned Catherine's wrist. The presence of the children would serve as a reminder that royal duties extended far beyond family relationships and protocol disputes. As 3 o'clock approached, Windsor's long walk began to fill with carefully managed crowds. Local residents who had supported the royal family through various challenges over the years found themselves witnessing what many had hoped for, but few had expected to see. The gathering represented more than a family reunion. It symbolized the possibility of healing and renewal that extended beyond the monarchy to touch anyone who had experienced family difficulties. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the historic avenue as palace staff made final preparations for an announcement that would surprise the world. The careful orchestration required for such an event demonstrated the institutional support that surrounded the royal family, even during their most private and difficult moments. Inside the castle, for people who had been separated by misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and irreconcilable differences prepared to show the world that families could overcome even the most public of disputes. Their appearance would mark not an end to their challenges, but a beginning of a new chapter in their relationships and their service to the nation. The moment William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan appeared together at the top of the long walk, a collective gasp arose from the gathered crowd. Photographers who had been expecting routine royal coverage found themselves witnessing one of the most significant royal moments in recent memory. The image of the four walking side by side, their expressions reflecting both determination and genuine warmth, would become iconic before the day was over. Emma Rodriguez, seated in her wheelchair near the front of the crowd, clutched her mother's hand as she saw the royal couples approaching. The friendship bracelet she had given Catherine earlier that morning sparkled on the Duchess's wrist, a small but meaningful detail that photographers quickly captured. The young girl's presence served as a reminder that royal relationships extended far beyond family dynamics to touch the lives of countless individuals. Sarah Chun, the photographer who had covered the morning hospital visit, realized she was documenting a historic moment. Her camera captured not just the formal aspects of the appearance, but the subtle interactions between the couples. Harry's protective gesture toward Meghan, William's encouraging nod to his brother, Catherine's gentle smile that seemed to encompass everyone present. The crowd included longtime Windsor residents like Mrs. Eleanor Hartley, who had lived near the castle for 73 years and witnessed countless royal occasions. She had often worried about the family divisions that had become so public, and seeing the four together brought tears to her eyes. Her reaction reflected the genuine affection that many British citizens felt for the royal family, despite their sometimes critical coverage in the media. Local schoolchildren from St. George's Primary School, the same institution that had educated many royal staff members' children over the years, stood with hand-painted welcome signs. Their teacher, Ms. Patricia Wells, had hastily organized their participation when the school received an unexpected invitation that morning. The children's excitement was infectious, their innocent joy providing a counterpoint to the serious nature of the reconciliation. Detective Inspector Morrison maintained his professional demeanor while coordinating security for an event that had required him to implement protocols designed for much larger gatherings. His team worked seamlessly to provide protection while allowing the intimate nature of the family announcement to proceed without obvious interference. The balance between security and accessibility required constant adjustment as the crowd grew larger than anticipated. Miranda Walsh managed media coordination from a temporary station set up near the castle gates, her phone buzzing constantly with calls from news outlets around the world. The announcement had caught everyone off guard, and journalists were scrambling to understand the significance of what they were witnessing. Her challenge was to provide enough information to satisfy legitimate media interest while protecting the family's privacy regarding the personal details of their reconciliation. As the royal couples reached the center of the gathering, William stepped forward to address the crowd. His words were carefully chosen, but delivered with obvious sincerity, acknowledging that families sometimes face difficulties while expressing gratitude for the support they had received during challenging times. The speech struck a balance between personal revelation and public responsibility that reflected his understanding of his role as future king. Harry spoke next, his voice carrying the emotion of someone who had struggled with his decision to step away from royal duties, but had found his way back to family connections. His acknowledgement of mistakes and his commitment to supporting his brother's future reign resonated with listeners who understood the personal cost of public service. The brothers' body language throughout the exchange demonstrated the genuine affection that had survived their difficulties. Catherine addressed the crowd with the grace that had characterized her public appearances since joining the royal family. But her words carried additional weight as she spoke about the importance of family unity and mutual support. Her reference to the children they had met that morning, particularly Emma Rodriguez, connected their personal reconciliation to their broader charitable responsibilities. Meghan's contribution to the joint statement focused on her continued commitment to the causes she had championed during her time as a working royal, while acknowledging the challenges of balancing personal convictions with institutional expectations. Her words suggested that future collaboration might be possible, even if her formal role within the monarchy had changed. The four then walked together among the gathered crowd, stopping to speak with individuals whose lives had been touched by royal charitable work. These informal conversations, captured by photographers but conducted without microphones, demonstrated the personal connections that had always been central to effective royal engagement with the public. Emma Rodriguez became an unexpected star of the event when Catherine knelt beside her wheelchair to show her parents how carefully she had preserved the morning's friendship bracelet. The interaction, spontaneous and genuine, provided one of the most touching moments of the afternoon and reinforced the message that family reconciliation extended beyond personal relationships to encompass service to others. Mrs. Hartley found herself in conversation with Meghan about the changes she had witnessed in Windsor over 7 decades, their discussion ranging from wartime memories to modern community development. The Duchess of Sussex's genuine interest in local perspectives reflected the qualities that had initially made her such an effective royal representative. The schoolchildren presented a large card they had created that morning, filled with drawings of the castle, the long walk, and stick figures representing the royal family. Their teacher later described how the children had instinctively understood the importance of the moment, their artwork reflecting hopes for happiness and unity that transcended their young understanding of royal protocol. As the afternoon gathering concluded, the four family members walked back toward the castle together, their relaxed interaction suggesting that the public appearance had reinforced rather than strained their renewed connections. The decision to share this moment with the community had transformed what could have been a sterile photo opportunity into a genuine celebration of reconciliation. Palace staff began the process of managing the inevitable media frenzy that would follow the announcement. Interview requests, editorial demands, and international coverage would require careful coordination to ensure that the positive message of family unity was not lost in speculation about future arrangements or past disagreements. The children who had attended the gathering returned to their homes with stories they would remember for the rest of their lives, their presence having contributed to a moment of genuine joy that reminded everyone present why the royal family continued to matter to British society. Their innocent enthusiasm had provided a backdrop of hope that enhanced the significance of the adult reconciliation. Dr. Foster accompanied her young patients back to the hospital, each child carrying small royal flags that had been distributed during the gathering. Emma Rodriguez wore a special smile, knowing that the bracelet she had made was now part of a historic day that had brought happiness to people she admired. As evening approached, Windsor Castle settled into a quieter rhythm, but the energy of the afternoon's events continued to resonate through its ancient walls. The successful public announcement had marked not just a family reunion, but a demonstration of the monarchy's ability to evolve and adapt while maintaining its essential connections to the people it served. The international media attention that followed would analyze every detail of the appearance. But for those who had witnessed it firsthand, the lasting impression was of four people who had chosen to prioritize family relationships over past disagreements, creating a moment of genuine hope in an often divisive world. The evening that followed the unprecedented public reunion found the royal family gathered in the private dining room of Windsor Castle, sharing a meal that marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The informal setting, with its warm lighting and family photographs, provided a stark contrast to the grand staterooms where official functions typically took place. Tonight belonged to personal relationships rather than public duties. Harry and Meghan had made the decision to extend their visit by several days, a choice that demonstrated their commitment to rebuilding family connections beyond the symbolic gestures of the afternoon. The practical arrangements for their stay required careful coordination by palace staff who had not expected to accommodate the couple, but who adapted their protocols with the flexibility that years of royal service had taught them. Their children, Archie and Lilibet, would join them the following day, traveling with the enhanced security arrangements that their status required, but with a joyful anticipation of reuniting with their British family. The prospect of the cousins playing together again brought smiles to faces that had been marked by too many months of separation and misunderstanding. Catherine found herself planning activities that would allow the extended family to spend quality time together while maintaining the privacy necessary for genuine relationship building. Her experience organizing family gatherings, combined with her understanding of royal protocol requirements, made her uniquely qualified to create opportunities for natural interaction between adults and children who needed time to reconnect. William worked with his staff to adjust his schedule for the coming days, postponing some engagements while maintaining others that could be adapted to include his brother and sister-in-law. The challenge was to demonstrate family unity while respecting the different roles and responsibilities that each couple had chosen to embrace. Margaret Holloway coordinated the complex logistics of managing an extended family visit that had not been planned, but which offered opportunities for healing that were too valuable to miss. Her decades of experience had taught her that successful royal relationships required both formal protocol and informal flexibility, knowing when to enforce procedures and when to adapt them for higher purposes. The media response to the afternoon's announcement exceeded all expectations, with news outlets around the world leading their coverage with images of the reunited royal couples. Editorial commentary ranged from cautiously optimistic to genuinely celebratory, reflecting the widespread hope that family reconciliation might signal broader stability for the monarchy during a period of significant transition. Sarah Chun found her photographs featured prominently in publications she had never imagined would use her work, her images capturing moments of genuine emotion that transcended the usual formal constraints of royal photography. The picture of Emma Rodriguez showing her friendship bracelet to Catherine became particularly symbolic, representing the connections between royal service and real human impact. International reaction focused on the implications for the Commonwealth relationships and the monarchy's global role. The sight of Harry and Meghan appearing supportive of William's future reign helped address concerns about family divisions undermining institutional stability. Their presence suggested that different approaches to royal service could coexist rather than compete. Emma Rodriguez woke up the following morning to find herself featured in newspapers around the world, her friendship bracelet having become a symbol of hope and connection. Her family received messages of support from well-wishers who had been touched by her story, transforming a young girl's simple gift into something that brought joy to people she would never meet. The children from St. George's primary school returned to classes with stories that made them temporary celebrities among their classmates. Ms. Wells incorporated their experience into lessons about community, service, and the importance of forgiveness and understanding in all relationships, not just royal ones. Mrs. Hartley discovered that her conversation with Meghan had been noted by several photographers, leading to interview requests from local media outlets interested in her perspective as a longtime Windsor resident. Her comments about the importance of family unity and the royal family's connection to their community reflected sentiments shared by many who had witnessed the reunion. Detective Inspector Morrison completed his security assessment of the unplanned event, noting lessons learned that would improve future protocols while acknowledging the successful balance achieved between protection and public access. His report would influence security planning for similar family occasions in the future. Dr. Foster organized a follow-up visit to the hospital, where several of her young patients have been inspired by their royal encounter to engage more actively in their treatment programs. The psychological boost provided by feeling connected to something positive and hopeful had measurable effects on their recovery processes. Palace Communications continued managing global media interest while preparing for the challenges and opportunities that would arise from the restored family relationships. Miranda Walsh's team worked to ensure that future coverage would focus on collaborative charitable work rather than speculative analysis of family dynamics. As the week progressed, private family time allowed for deeper conversations about the future. Harry and Meghan's charitable foundation could potentially collaborate with William and Catherine's initiatives, creating opportunities for shared impact that transcended geographical boundaries. The discussion of joint projects reflected a mature understanding of how their different platforms could complement rather than compete. The brothers spent hours walking the castle grounds, their conversations covering everything from childhood memories to future responsibilities. William shared his concerns about the pressures of his eventual role as king, while Harry offered perspectives gained from his experience outside the traditional royal framework. Their exchange of ideas demonstrated the value of different viewpoints within the same family commitment to service. Catherine and Meghan discovered that their different experiences had given them insights that could benefit both of their charitable work. Their discussions about balancing family responsibilities with public service revealed common challenges that had been obscured by media focus on their supposed rivalry. When Archie and Lilibet arrived, the castle came alive with children's laughter in a way that reminded everyone why family relationships mattered more than public controversies. The young cousins adapted to each other's company with the resilience that children possess, their play providing a backdrop of joy that reinforced their parents' commitment to maintaining connections. The success of this unexpected reunion created a template for future family interactions, demonstrating that private relationship building could coexist with public responsibilities. The careful balance between transparency and privacy would influence how the royal family managed similar situations in the future. As Harry and Meghan prepared to return to California, they did so with confirmed plans for future visits and collaborative projects. The separation of geography no longer meant separation of purpose, and their departure was marked by anticipation rather than uncertainty about when they might see each other again. Windsor Castle settled back into its regular rhythms, but the echoes of the reunion week continued to resonate through its corridors. The staff who had witnessed the healing of family relationships found renewed purpose in their service, understanding more clearly how their work supported not just an institution, but a family whose personal connections strengthened their public effectiveness. The story that began with an unannounced appearance had evolved into a demonstration of the power of families to overcome their differences when they prioritize love over pride. The royal reunion would be remembered not just as a moment of reconciliation, but as proof that even the most public of families could find private paths to healing and renewal.